The woman had lovingly raised her pet snake for a full 5 years and formed a deep bond with it. Yet one night it quietly slithered onto her bed while she was fast asleep. It even stretched its body perfectly straight. A powerful sense of fear instantly washed over her, because the pet snake had always had a huge appetite. It could easily eat an entire chicken at every meal, but recently it had suddenly stopped eating altogether. Now it had even climbed onto her bed, which was clearly not normal. The woman quickly woke her sleeping husband, but her husband simply told her not to make a big deal out of it. The woman still felt something was terribly wrong. Sure enough, the next day a zoology professor told her the truth. The snake's strange behavior was actually measuring the woman's height. In other words, it had already started seeing her as prey. Yet her husband insisted the pet snake was gentle and would never hurt anyone. After hearing that, the woman finally relaxed a little, but that very night she suddenly woke up once again, only to discover that her husband had mysteriously disappeared. The house was left with only her and the pet snake. Suddenly the woman remembered that her husband had bought her an accident insurance policy just a few days earlier. A horrifying possibility immediately crossed her mind, but her top priority now was simply staying alive. Knowing that snakes could not clearly see motionless objects, instead they were extremely sensitive to movement and body heat, the woman carefully and slowly got to her feet. She quietly moved toward the door with the smallest movements possible, but unfortunately her worst fear came true. Even though she had been incredibly careful, the sound of opening the door still caught the snake's attention. When she slowly turned around, the snake had already taken an attack position. Although she was terrified, she refused to scream or panic. In the end, she narrowly avoided the attack by staying calm. She immediately sprinted downstairs as fast as she could, but when she reached the front door, she realized her husband had already locked it from the outside. No matter what she tried, it would not open. As the snake drew closer and closer, the woman forced herself to stay calm. Fortunately, there was still a glimmer of hope. At the critical moment, she spotted a crowbar out of the corner of her eye. She quickly grabbed it and desperately pried at the tightly locked door. She finally forced the door open and escaped just before the snake could strike. Looking at the photo of herself and her husband, her anger exploded. By then, she was certain her husband had planned everything from the very beginning, so she immediately rushed to the zoology professor's laboratory. She revealed her husband's entire murderous plot involving the pet snake. After discussing it together, they decided to give him a taste of his own medicine. After studying research materials all night, they successfully created a special pheromone. Its purpose was to make the pet snake become aggressive whenever it heard the whistle used to control it. As long as her husband tried using the whistle to command the snake to attack her, his fate would be completely sealed. The woman was convinced that once her husband realized she had survived, he would definitely bring the pet snake back to finish the job. Sure enough, everything happened exactly as she had expected. Half an hour later, her husband arrived with the pet snake. This time he did not even bother pretending anymore. He directly released the pet snake. Then he blew his whistle and ordered the snake to devour the woman. At that exact moment, the woman suddenly pulled out the prepared pheromone. She accurately sprayed it straight into the snake's mouth. Now her husband's downfall had finally begun.